Darby Allin gets hit by a bus. Tony Khan is out or gets struck again for the first time. I don't know. Jungle Boy hit him, and we did not get drafted. This is the Dangerous Jobbers podcast.
People have been asking me, why, Eddie, why?
I'm better than you.
Why I surrender out in the back smoking a joint with Van Dam.
You know it.
All right, that was pretty good, man.
Yeah.
I'm your boy Stevie Jobber,
And I'm your boy Dangerous Duke.
and welcome back to the Dangerous Jobbers podcast, putting wrestling over one podcast at a time.
Damn wellness policy.
Man, let's get right into it, man. Wrestler of the pod, let's get him out the way. A guy that I feel like we should have had on the list already. Kevin Blackwood, who's also a tattoo artist. So if you've ever been to an indie show or saw an indie show and you didn't know who he was and you just wanted a general idea, he's probably the guy, the white guy with blonde hair that was covered in a ton of tattoos.
Not Shannon Moore.
That was not Shannon Moore, and did not have any weird face makeup or hair. Kevin Blackwood, I've seen live. He's a great professional wrestler, and he's the current West Coast Pro Wrestling champion. West Coast Pro right now is doing some of their best stuff, aligning with Prestige Wrestling and DPW. So, as one of those three companies' champions, as they're making moves out in the business, Kevin Blackwood, Wrestler of the Pod, please go check him out. He's on just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to other news, AEW has had some recent headlines, and I feel like they have done enough to be the first good solid segment of the show. I feel like there's some minutes we can get out of this instead of the usual bullet points. But let's start with good things, right? Swerve Strickland is the champ, and we haven't gotten to talk about it yet. At AEW Dynasty, yes, there was Ospreay versus Danielson, but Swerve became world champion for what we probably saw coming. But it is a good thing. It is good news. I feel oddly about the way they kind of pushed it the first couple days, but that's for another day. Duke, tell me your thoughts on Swerve becoming AEW champion.
I'll let it go to 20 before I say anything. I mean, I like it. I think it's a good move. Swerve, he's been busting his butt. He's been putting in the hard yards. He's been getting over with the crowd, and he's been putting on great matches. And the match him and Joe had together, that was a damn good match. If anybody who didn't watch it, I strongly suggest y'all go back, find the clips on YouTube, check it out. They did their thing that match. Swerve did his thing. So to finally see Swerve get his moment in the sun, become a world champion somewhere, I have no complaints about it. I'm pretty sure nobody else does either. Damn good match by both men.
Yeah, I think the way that AEW kind of shifts their champions around due to relevant momentum, we all kind of saw it coming. But it is great to see Swerve become champ. And I just am interested to see what he does with it now.
Yeah.
Because he's been in the business for a long time, but I don't think he's ever actually held the ball. He's been MLW champion, but I missed that. I missed that wave.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten to see what Swerve as a world champion is actually like. So hopefully they can take this and go to some more interesting places, because when you really think about this iteration of Swerve, he's only had two rivalries really that have been high level, which would be Hangman and Joe up to this point, really. as far as groundbreaking stories for Swerve. So hopefully now that he's champ, there's a lot of different unique stories he can get into with other guys on the roster. So I'm excited. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. Um, things we're not so excited about. Uh, Tony Khan, since we last talked, had released the CM Punk footage with the Elite kind of using it for a story about why they couldn't beat FTR. This tying into Jungle Boy and Punk during his original interview and blah, 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 culminating a dynasty with the Elite becoming tag team champions again by way of Jack Perry, or not becoming tag champs again, but beating FTR by way of Jack Perry, and Jack Perry becoming heel after all this heat that kind of had him as a babyface. But after helping them helping them beat the FTR, they had this running story where Tony was going to speak to Jungle Boy on live TV to kind of figure out where things were going to go if Jungle Boy was no longer suspended and just where everything was at. During the promo, Tony Khan and Jack Perry bury the hatchet, but then, of course, as they're hugging, Perry looks in the camera, straight Christian style. You definitely got that from your dad. And as he raises his arm, punches him in the gut, Tony does a McMahon style sell of it. And the EVPs come out with Okada. And at first, they're playing the rules. They're, how could you do this? Like, you're a loose cannon. You got to stop and blah, blah, blah. And they at first look like they're going to pick Tony up and give him the EVP trigger or the elite, whatever they called it before. It's the EVP trigger now. Um, and Okada kind of stops him. And he's like, "You're not going to do the boss." And then they're like, "No." And then Okada kind of gives them the okay, like, "No, yeah, do it." So they nail Tony with the EVP trigger, and the new elite has been established as the Young Bucks, Okada, and scapegoat Jack Perry, or whatever you would call him now. Um, and then, of course, somewhere after that, Tony shows up in a neck brace at the NFL, calling WWE the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling and comparing himself to Pepsi. But I just saying all that to say, Duke, how do you feel about the new elite? How do you feel about Jack Perry's comeback? How do you feel about them cursing CM Punk and then using all of the things they got wrong as momentum into a storyline? Where are you at?
Dude, it's like, do we still need to do this? That's where I'm at on it. I mean, it's not, maybe I'm the odd man out on thinking this. It feels like they're doing too much. Like, just the elite as a whole.
Mm.
Like, everything with the elite just feels like too forced, too, like, it's almost like, all right, you have, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. For the people who watch basketball, you have Kevin Durant on your team, and then you go and you add, I don't know, Devin Booker, and then you go and you add Yusuf Nurkic. Then you go and you add Bradley Beal. Then you go and you add Grayson Allen. Like, you already have one good thing, and then you just add in too many good things, too much good stuff to it is just gonna make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, it's like you're having too much good. Too much of a good thing can actually make your product worse.
Right.
And I feel like when the Elite does something good, it is good. But then they keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and then it just makes it even worse.
Mm.
At least for me. And I think that's where we're going right now. Like you don't need Okada for the Elite. You don't need Jack Perry. Just be the Elite. Be what you are. And now you're adding all this extra stuff to it. Now you're attacking your boss. It's like you're trying to be a watered down version of DX. Or like
Mm.
whatever faction you want to say you are. It's like you're becoming a great value brand version of insert faction here.
It's. Do you feel like it's more in the way of WCW and instead of pulling away from it? The fact that they're still trying
Yeah,
to keep the.
yeah, it's more WCW ish, and then on top of that, you're still throwing shots at WWE by calling them the Harvey Weinstein and comparing yourself to Pepsi. Like, dude, we're still talking about this. We're still throwing shots at them. They
Mhm.
they threw one shot at you that may or may have not been about somebody in your company, and now everybody and their mom wants to throw shots at that other company. They're not even thinking about you no more.
Yeah, I find it amazing because I feel like it wouldn't be this good of a story at all if CM Punk hadn't done an interview where he just felt comfortable talking about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's, I mean, yes, you could argue that they're using it for their momentum. You know, they're taking what everyone's talking about at the time and tying it into something to give them more to talk about. But it is ironic that someone so outside of your company is spanning together all the literally the elites of your company into a story kind of based off of someone that you don't associate with. And one would argue that it almost is reverse marketing to WWE, that you're promoting kind of more CM Punk and
Yeah, you're
versus
benefiting
W.
them.
Like you're like NWOing it. You're definitely NWOing it. It's just weird. It's art. It's I like there's a silver lining because it's
It's
gonna
few and
keep
far
being
between.
an interesting story. Is gonna continue because people are gonna show up every week to be like, oh, what are they gonna do now? But
That's
one
if
would
they don't.
argue that you're kind of boosting both companies rather than taking what you could have passed on to just do more for yourself.
Yeah.
That being said, I have one high note to end on before kind of another low note. We're gonna get to it. We talked like we're gonna have to do a separate pod on it because I'm gonna be someone Duke does not even recognize right now. But I just want to give a small portion to say that I feel like AEW's mid card is kind of on fire, low key, and is being overshadowed by maybe some not very negative news and some weird, I don't know, just weird turn of events. But I will say I love everything that Adam Cole and the boys are doing. Strong versus Osprey looks. I won't say the story is magnificent, but it's
It's
definitely a
appealing.
classic. It's definitely appealing, and it's a classic tale of just people that are really good going one on one, and you kind of know the outcome, but you're in it for the match. And Roderick Strong is renaming himself the Messiah, the Backbreaker, and shedding his whole weird gimmick and only keeping the good part, which is him yelling people's first name and literally reverting everything else back to being the Messiah, the Backbreaker, and going up against probably the number two or three best wrestler in the world, Will Osprey. I mean, it's good stuff. Edge finally going up against somebody I care about is great stuff. And then Not that Christian wasn't somebody I cared about, but it did feel like Christian was kind of leading that more than Edge was. And you were excited to see what Edge is going to do outside of that. And he was kind of in the ether. But this House of Black thing resulting in what I would feel like is Edge versus House of Black. Because of the match, I'm in it. You know, it is kind of, I do look at his Edge's epilogue, so I'm only in it for the matches. Um, but the best friend stuff, tremendous work, guys. I haven't seen a parking lot brawl in a minute, and y'all look like y'all really went at it. And because y'all are the best friends, and I was there when this started, when the whole gimmick was you hugging in the middle of the ring for that wide camera shot pop. And I thought it was so lovely, even though I so wanted Trent to be a great single star. And it feels like I'm finally getting the payoff to, yeah, but Trent was kind of bigger than the group this whole time and nobody talked about it. And that kind of resulted in Orange Cassidy becoming the lead. When honestly, Trent Beretta, if you'd had talked about all three of them starting the company, you'd have been like, that's the guy to excel. So the fact that we're getting a Trent Beretta story, I can't lie, it makes me interested. And the fact that it's a hardcore Trent Beretta, can't be mad at it. That being said, I also think, though the Chris Jericho chance to retire, uh, this is again a weird place that I'm at. Was horrible. This is a horrible moment. People should not be telling you to retire. This is just weird. It's just like a weird place to be at in your career. But the fact that you then turned that into your gimmick as the learning tree, it's kind of Chris Jericho gold, man. That's kind of like a perfect Chris Jericho moment to be like, I've already started this obnoxious learning tree character that nobody likes because there's a stigma on my name that I end young careers. Now you're booing at me to retire. I'm going to use all of that into the momentum, into the character, to intricate it into inviting people to learn under me after ending a young kid's career when I'm far too old to be doing this. Now I'm going to start really teaching people. And I was like, oh, that's gold, bro.
It is.
Low key, that's some Chris Jericho stuff. Like,
It is.
so I think they're taking lemons and making lemonade. That's not to say that there's not a lot of bad lemons, but it is only to say that if you look past most of the old people and the people that are running things, there's some good stuff in between. There's some
I
good stuff.
mean, you know,
There's some good stuff. But
tomato.
not so great thing. Let's end on this because I feel like we have to. Oh, also Thunder Rosa versus Deanna Purrazzo is really good. Moving on. We'll end on this. Some things that are not doing really good. Darby Allen, who I recently talked about maybe having to rethink things and come up with a different strategy,
Yeah.
got injured with a broken foot and then got hit by a bus. And, you know, nothing can kill Darby Allen, but he's definitely in bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
Just shocking news. And, you know, um, just well wishes.
Yeah.
We really hope he recovers soon. And I kind of have a, a Steve-O, like Johnny Knoxville kind of approach to Darby Allen's injuries most of the time. Like he's damn near invincible. But getting hit by the bus and surviving is no small feat.
Talk about when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, yeah. So
Jesus.
just kudos to him for hanging in there and just a quick, speedy recovery for Darby. And maybe this is something that they can use into some different type of momentum
Yeah, talk about a tough SOB. I mean, dang. That's really all I can say on it. It's just damn.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
somebody who usually has a lot to say, just damn.
It's a
Crazy.
tough spot to be in. It's a tough spot to be in. But if he's Darby, you know, he'll take it on the chin. He'll recover,
Or on the foot.
and he'll be back to doing crazy stuff way sooner than he should be.
Hopefully not as crazy as standing in front of a bus.
Or this is not to tie back into the elite, but or jumping off of really tall things to go into glass.
We don't need to use
Probably
real
not a great
glass.
spot. Probably not a great spot. Um, moving on.
In
Moving
WWE's
on.
news,
Moving on to really good things. Really good things. Just some things I think we're gonna like. The WWE news where the big boys play. We're going from where the best wrestle to where the big boys play.
RK.
Um, and we're starting with top news of the show, right? Uh,
New
Chad
news.
Gable or Pert Gable, per our last episode,
Mm-hmm.
uh, is still on his quest to level up. This was his first promo, his first appearance, and he showed back up with Alpha Academy, which was something we did not expect. We weren't sure what we were going to get. We knew we had to address it, but we weren't sure how it was going to go. Most of us figured this has to be the branching point, right? The implosion of Alpha
Mm-hmm.
Academy. But he starts by lining them all up and talking about the IC championship, talking about the loss, talking about how it should have been him. And the whole time he was busy helping the guy that, you know what I mean? We talked at length about why this is absolutely Sami Zayn's fault and why he had all of this coming. I feel like we referred to it enough in the last one. Unless you got some more to say about it.
No, we touched on it pretty well. It is
So he
Sammy's
goes
fault.
on to say what we're all feeling, which is he got cheated, and this was absolutely right up the alley to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then he proceeds to say he wasn't just wasting his time on Sami Zayn. He was wasting his time on the Alpha Academy.
Speak
I
on it.
was wasting my time, my brilliance, my athletic ability, and all of my wrestling knowledge on you losers.
You three clowns.
And proceeds to run them down one by one down to even Otis, star pupil.
Motherfuck the big three. It's just big me.
And he said exactly that. It's no more us, it's just big me. I have spent all of my time helping you losers achieve nothing. So now we're all going to work to help me achieve what I want. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's what should have happened? Do you think this is going to go well? Do you think he does eventually level up? What's your idea? Do you where do you feel like this is taking us to?
How does a good manager get their employees to work better? You light a fire under their ass.
Mm,
You motivate them. Sometimes that form of motivation comes from harsh criticism.
mm.
And if you can't take the heat, the kitchen door is right over there. Nothing he said was out of turn. Nothing he said was wrong. Tozawa, you just come out here and dance your little heart away. Maxine, your emotions are all over the place. You can't win a match because you're crying all the time. And Otis, you are the biggest disappointment of them all. Literally. You were supposed to be a dominant athlete. To quote Randy Orton, are you kicking ass and taking names or kissing ass and bringing coffee?
I feel like that's what he's gonna be doing for the next few weeks.
Now we are gonna get this Intercontinental title for me by any means necessary.
I like it. I like it.
And if you can't do it, I know a couple guys who can. So either get in line or step aside because Perk Gable is rolling everybody over.
All I know is, and we'll leave on this because we don't want to. We don't. I feel like now there's a stigma is if we say it, it won't happen. Unless you're like Sam Roberts or somebody that's like really tapped in. I feel like a lot of, and even then, a lot of the times, what he says doesn't happen, even though it sounds brilliant. I feel like we shouldn't get into the thick of it because if we say it, it might not happen. But I do feel like if there was anyone in creative that wanted to just take this a month and then switch him around and give him the old Solo Sokoa upgrade, there's definitely two guys and a wise man you could pinch on to this in a sec and immediately level Chad Gable up. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. It's for another day.
Mm-hmm.
In other news is some factions stay together, some factions fall apart. And unfortunately, there are two factions we're about to talk about that are just not doing as well as they should be.
Mm-hmm.
First one has got to be Imperium after being embarrassed by the New Day in front of the former longest reigning intercontinental champion Gunther,
Ring General.
the Ring General.
Mm.
He's pissed off. He has had it. And his Kaiser's on the outside, shaking his head. Gunther looks him dead in the face. Disappointed. Disappointed. And you know what Ludwig got to do. He gonna make it right.
That
That's
dog
what
gonna
you're
get you.
supposed to do.
That dog gonna get you.
If Tama Tonga and early Bloodline Jey Uso have taught us nothing, is that as the right hand man, you're supposed to get him.
Mm-hmm.
And Ludwig made it right.
Ludwig took care of it.
He got Giovanni, picked him up like he loved him.
Brushed them off.
The deja vu started to hit. And as they was walking up the ramp,
Boom.
tossed him back.
Mm-hmm.
Started beating him down. And he hit him with the old, well, his signature. I shouldn't say the old, but his signature, because it's 3 times now. So now it's a thing. He sets him up on the stairs after they've taken him all. After all the securities come out to try and separate him. He's laying on the stairs. Ludwig goes all the way up to the start of that ramp again and glides down all the way around the side of the ring to a pinpoint drop kick to smash his head into the steel steps.
Mm-hmm.
He is written off. I
He's
do
gone.
love that that's like the new Seth Rollins stomp or the Randy Orton punt. Like, that's the new thing. Like, if you're going to go out, like, that's the Ludwig way of taking you off TV. He's an assassin now.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? So he hits the assassin spot on Giovanni Vinci, and now it seems Imperium is only but 2. Where do we go from here?
I'll tell you where we go. As bad as this is gonna sound, just saying it, it's gonna sound bad.
Are you you're gonna don't say it.
This is going to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Gunther is going to be the king of the ring with the assist from Ludwig Kaiser. Now, who he's going to beat for the King of the Ring, I promise you, I do not know. However, I would not be upset if the final was Gunther versus former King of the Ring, Xavier Woods. That way it's New Day versus Imperium. You got your Gunther versus Xavier. Granted, Xavier's the reigning King of the Ring, but you have your David and Goliath. And you have your tag team beef, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to end with Gunther being the King of the Ring.
I'll tell you, that's a much better story than what I had. I like yours.
You like mine?
I like yours. And then, of course, because he's been traded or probably going to be traded to Raw, right? He's got to be the headhunter for Damian, right?
No, Gunther's still Raw.
Gunther's still Raw, right? Yeah, he's got to be.
He wasn't eligible for the draft, but tonight, as we're airing this, or as we're recording, he'll probably end up getting picked.
Yeah, so I feel like he's probably going to be the guy to take out Damian, unless I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to see Gunther not as the next world champion.
Yeah, and you kind of can't put Gunther in a Money in the Bank ladder match. I mean, you could, but
you could, but oh my god,
it's like Brock coming out and being in the Money. It'd be like Kane being. It'd be like Kane winning Money in the Bank.
It would be such a spectacle, though.
You ever see King Kong climb the tower?
Because at the end it would just be a massacre of it would be the normal everyone's on a ladder spot, except then Gunther would come in. And then nobody would be on the ladder.
Start chopping everybody left and right on the ladder.
He would just demolish everyone as the finish and climb the ladder to win.
He's the last one to climb the ladder. He starts chopping everyone off the ladder.
Right. Instead of them falling out of the ring when somebody comes and pushes the ladder over, they'll stay in and they'll just beat them to death and then go to the next ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be a spectacle, though. But I wouldn't do it, but what a spectacle it would be.
Gunther will probably be the world champion, the next world champion.
He's got to be, man. He's got to be. But aside from that, Imperium is now 2. And the world champion right now, if I was him, I would be worried. But Damian seems to have no problems. In fact, he seems to be turning his back on damn near everyone. And I mean, I think it started with Mommy and them not letting him cash in on Drew, which does make me wonder if storyline-wise, cashing in on Drew was his call. But you never know. That being said, Damian this week without Mommy, first week, no Mommy on TV.
A little different.
It felt a little. I gotta tell you, without Seth, without Rhea, there's a hole in the show right now. There's some room to grow. But that being said, Damian kind of took the heel approach with the Judgment Day. He was done with the jokes. He was done with the games. And, he put all this pressure on Damian and Dom, who ended up subbing in Santos and that whole thing. And just being really upset. But the most notable moment for me was that moment where he's given the Razor's Edge to who was it? Somebody in DIY? Was it Miz? I can't remember who it was. It was Miz.
No, but I understand what you were saying.
He's giving him the Razor's Edge. He goes over to Dom and he starts speaking to Dom in Spanish, basically saying, "I don't need nobody. Y'all need me." A much kind of almost a cold now. I can't say it's as cold as when Chad did it, but it was almost like a fall in line and start pulling your weight because I don't need you.
But With all this going on, like you said, look at the two people he's doing it to. Dom and JD.
Noticeably left out was Finn Balor.
Who was missing?
Noticeably left out was Finn. Because during all this time where he's pushing his weight around, Finn is kind of nowhere to be found.
No,
So
he was nursing that little injury.
So I think we might be seeing an implosion. I think this could be the end. I think Dom might join Santos. I don't know what JD's gonna do. Actually, I kind of do now that I think about it. I kind of do know what's gonna happen to JD if we're but another day.
We're
Another
probably
day.
gonna discuss it later.
We'll probably discuss it later. But yeah, hopefully Dom finds his way into Legado del Fantasma and Damian goes on his own. And I'm sure when Finn comes back, he'll have a lot to say. And I'm not entirely sure he'll be on Damian's side. So that should be interesting.
I
Should
think that'll be the
be
time
interesting.
that'll be the time certain people let their demons out and show their true colors.
Oh, that would be lovely. That
This is
I
where
would,
we need the clip.
yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Whatever you might be talking about.
Continue.
In other news, another champion we have to talk about. With the going down of Rhea Ripley with the injury, we had to crown a new women's world champion, and they did it in a battle royal as the main event of the show. And not surprisingly, it was Becky Lynch. But upon rethinking it, and the people that were the final four, makes sense. It makes sense.
It does. It just hurts.
It makes sense.
That's
It
all.
just hurts. It just you thought you were done with Becky. You thought she was gonna go the way of Seth Rollins and she'd be gone until Mania season or SummerSlam season or something. And you didn't have to do. You thought she was on her Charlotte Flair for a minute.
Look, I mean,
And they pulled they of course she would be more like John Moxley than anyone else. When they call you up, we
yeah, I
need you to
mean,
come carry the torch.
look, I get
Here
it.
comes Becky Lynch.
I
Can't get
get
a
it.
vacation.
I get it. Unforeseen circumstances happen. People get hurt and they can't finish the reign how they would like to finish the reign. I get it. But it's just like, damn, man, like it's gotta be Becky. And don't get me wrong, I love me some Becky Lynch. I think Becky
Yeah,
Lynch
I
is a
mean,
phenomenal superstar. But when the same person keeps getting the title repeatedly,
what is this, COVID?
I don't look. We're gonna take this to TV 14 like Roman Reigns did with John Cena. When the same person gets the title, it's like missionary over and over and over and over again. It's like, can we get something a little bit? Like, can we just freshen it up a little bit? Can we
Yeah,
like
or
call a
can't we just
new
stop missionary for you to take care of the kid for a couple
like
months or whatever?
can we run
Just
a new
please.
play in the playbook, please?
I just would have liked someone else. I just would have enjoyed it. You could have put it on Natty for all I care.
I mean, I'm
Like,
sure a lot of people would
as
have
long as
preferred somebody
at
different, but
least it was somebody different. Like, oh man, dude. I know it wasn't time for Liv Morgan,
exactly, I get that too.
but and I know Nia's gonna be on SmackDown, and we'll talk about that when on Wednesday because I'm very excited about that. That tells me a lot of things that it maybe some other people haven't clicked yet. That told me a lot of good things, but I get because Nia wasn't going to stay on Raw, she couldn't win, but man, it really could have been anyone else.
If you get a honey bun every time you're hungry, every once in a while you would appreciate a Star Crunch. You know?
I'm mad you just named like two of my favorite my favorites.
But if you eat a honey bun 80s for 87 times, I'm pretty sure when 88 comes around, you're gonna want that damn Star Crunch.
Yeah. No, definitely.
We could have just kept the title vacant until as bad as this sounds again.
That was the thing for me too, though. I felt like we could have waited. Like
we could honestly, as bad as this is gonna sound, we could have finished this off at Backlash or at somewhere at another event down the line where we just crown a champion. We could have just ran a tournament the whole way through and then just have the final two be whoever wins the tournament at said pay-per-view.
It's a shame y'all weren't doing Queen of the Ring at the same time because
yeah,
you could have just put the belt up for Queen of the Ring. Like you become Queen of the Ring, but you also become champion.
Yes.
And then y'all kind of decide who to put it on from there that y'all can build to, you know what I mean?
And then y'all got a good 4 to 6 weeks to figure out who the hell your champion's going to be.
And we can figure it out post-draft so it doesn't interfere with anything.
And we can make it a big tournament, bring in a couple people from NXT to even be a part of it.
I feel like there was a way to do this. I just feel like there was a way. I don't know.
You could have brought up a Roxanne Perez for a match or two. You could have brought up a Lyra Valkyria. You could have brought up who are them two girls that are a tag team right now?
You're not talking about Alba Fire, are you?
Yes. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. You could have used them in singles matches, and you could have orchestrated this the right way to where
this could have been different. This could have been
to where you have like 12, 14 women competing. You could have done it.
This could have been a tournament situation that we could have. Yeah.
And you could have even pushed it a step further and gave Becky a first round bye for fighting at WrestleMania. I would have been okay with that.
I would have been okay with winner fights Becky Lynch.
No, Becky got to earn her keep too.
Well, true, but I mean that way we don't have to see Becky Lynch every week.
Okay, you're right on that. She goes to the finals automatically.
And then we give Becky Lynch a good promo about, I'm proud of you for earning your way here, but it's time for the man to come back around. And then,
the man doesn't wait in line. The man is the line, blah, blah, blah.
Anyway, though, to talk about some champions we're happy about, I go quick shout out to the speed champion, Ricochet. I'm glad you got a belt, kid. Like I'm a kid. Why am I? How do I don't want to be Jim Cornette. But I'm happy to see a belt on Ricochet. Not excited at the fact that it's on a show that's 3 minutes. It's on Twitter. But hey.
24/7.
Let's make it better than 24/7. But shout out to Ricochet. I'm glad you got some sort of gold finally.
You know what Ricochet said? You know what Ricochet said to his?
What did Ricochet say?
Or what he's gonna say to his first challenger? Hey, freak show, you're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. Oh man, Ricochet, we love you. I'm sorry, but I had to do it, Ricochet.
Oh, it's gonna be such a good clip.
Mr. Trevor, I'm sorry, man. We love you.
Oh man. And shout out to Trevor Lee, man. You didn't have to cry online. You're gonna get great work.
You are, dude. Like it's as bad as it is to get released.
You could piece it up with when I piece it up. I'm sure you guys are cool. But you could call up Andrew Everett tomorrow and show up on TNA Thursday and be the talk of the town. Like,
yes.
Please don't cry on the internet. I know it's devastating. I know they haven't used you right, but dude, you're gonna go places. Like, it's not even a question. I'm sure you'll have the I went to the Indies and
The Helms
Dude,
Dynasty minus Helms is gonna be the shit in TNA.
exactly, bro. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. Um, but to another champion, Trick Williams won his spring break, which thank goodness. you know, somebody had to be Ilya. I mean, eventually, and we couldn't keep building stars big enough to beat Ilya Dragunov. So, congratulations to Trick Williams. They
Thank
made the right
God.
move. You won in Philly, and you beat Ilya Dragunov the next week.
Talk
Um,
about a wave of momentum.
Facts, big
Like
facts.
that's strapping the
Oh
freaking
my
rocket ship to the guy.
goodness.
I do want to add. I want to say before we talk about anything else, the Trick Williams project for the last month. I'm giving it the last month from we're in the end of April. The last 2 months has been, in my opinion, and I don't care what anyone else says, I'll battle them over this. This project has been a smashing success.
Mm,
Talk about
mm,
strapping the rocket ship on the dude and shooting him to the moon. And
mm.
then, Carmelo doing the honorable thing and I don't want to say jobbing out, but helping his boy out on his way out the door to the main roster. Chef's kiss. And then, beating Ilya, winning the title again. Perfect. Like that whole Trick Williams experiment, it worked. It was great. I love watching every second of it. And I'm really excited to see what the hell Trick does going forward because it's going to be great.
Yeah, I give a whole lot of props to Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
As we're seeing, I kind of have this realization that this draft class kind of is the first fully like these are Shawn Michaels kids draft class.
Yes.
A lot of it was kind of weeding out Triple H's kids and putting in some other kids, but this class is the first real class of Triple H kids.
Yes.
Of course, the Creed brothers came a little early, and some people came a little early, but um, for the most part, the this class solid now is Triple H kids. Like anyone from here forth that goes up is a Triple H kid.
Mm. The Sean kid.
So it's a Sean kid. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Is a Sean kid or an HBK kid. That sounds like a Happy Meal, an HBK kid. But no, these are all HBK kids now. So seeing the build up to this, because it is one thing to build a story up to a point,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't deliver on the what's supposed to be the payoff, it'll never hit the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. The things they've done in the past 2 months to really capitalize on all of this buildup has been spot on every single time. Once it happened, you couldn't look away, and it has absolutely, absolutely paid off in a way where, oddly, I thought we got one of the best crops of talent from that era right before this when Mello and Grayson Waller and Elia
Braun
um,
Breaker.
and Braun Breaker were all at the helm of the main event scene. I thought that was kind of the best crop of guys to have. And they created a situation where they were able to take somebody nobody was mentioning and make him kind of bigger in stock than all those
Other guy
three
in
at
a
the
sense.
time last year. I would
Mm-hmm.
say Trick's momentum is head and shoulders above where their momentum was a year ago.
I'll say honestly now, even the people that Trick has potential to fight with in this world title picture, you talk about your Joe Gacy's, you talk about your Tony D'Angelo's, your
Sean Spears
I was
still
gonna
down
say,
there.
yeah, I'll even throw Sean Spears into that mix as well. I think Trick and Sean Spears is a sneaky good match. I think it's sneaky good, especially because a lot of people compare Sean Spears' in-ring ability to HBK's in a sense, like the character work.
Yeah.
I think that could be really sneaky good. Sean Spears could be HBK's measuring stick for NXT.
And I really wouldn't be mad at, and also guys like Dijak still down there, which is a crime. I would draft Dijak up at this point. Dijak, I've been keeping enough of an eye on him. He wasn't ready any of those other years.
He wasn't,
He
and
just wasn't.
we both have spoken highly of Dijak before, so
And
I can agree with you.
and I'll even agree that his character starting off as being like this weird
Prototype.
Sin City, like no, the one he's
Oh,
got
the new
now,
one,
which is
the new
this
one.
weird like Sin City comic booky, like vigilante ish, like
Yep,
it was a weird take. It was a weird take, but now that he's shed most of the comic bookness and gotten down to the core of his character, it works.
it
He's
does.
just a scary big man that's massively impressive again, but now it's like respectable and
And
it
this
can work.
deceptively athletic.
And now it's like a thing. So like at this point, I don't think Dijak is the stock of an Ilya Dragunov, but because he's been down there so long, he's never gonna gain that kind of momentum. You gotta Liv Morgan him. You gotta call him up, even though he hasn't reached his peak, and you gotta hope for the best. Because
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of guys that are down there that are they just needed a tune up and they were going to be ready. Sean had to find what was going to work with their character and fix it.
I think there's certain if you call Ilya up to the main, not Ilya, if you call Dijak up to the main roster right now, I would almost say you have to put him on Raw, and you have to let him mix it up with. I'm gonna say Bronson Reed is a must. You got to give him
Bronson Reed is a
Bronson Reed.
must.
You got to give him Nakamura.
And you got to make Nakamura good. I would do Nakamura second. Don't do him first.
No.
Just to make
I just
Nakamura
mean
look good.
like at some point,
But yeah, like his dream matches.
and then you know what? Who went to Mello went to SmackDown, right?
Melo went to SmackDown. But
I would even say give him Braun Breaker. He's gonna lose to Braun, but I would even say give him Braun Breaker. I feel like him and Braun together would work well as a little bit of a feud. It don't gotta be a major one, but just give him some guys to work with to where he can build himself up and get more confidence in himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Bronson has to be the first one.
But that being said, though, to keep on course, there's just a lot of good NXT talent right now from Sean's camp, and just a kudos to him for just finding what works in everybody and not doing things like Triple H did, but almost as efficiently, if not better. And Trick Williams being living proof of that.
Yes.
And then I think we end on something outside of the direct WWE news and some of the behind the scenes stuff. As most recently, we found out there's no more non compete clause.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, and this isn't even from a WWE standpoint, this is from probably the first time I'm ever going to say this on a wrestling podcast, but this is from a political standpoint. Because this is a legislation that passed. This isn't just a company thing. This is a legislation from the actual like US government.
Oh,
no companies anywhere.
whoa,
No performing companies anywhere can have non-compete clauses anymore. And if you already have a non-compete clause in your contract currently, that has officially become null and void.
whoa.
So this isn't even like a company thing.
I didn't know it was like a legislation.
This is a legislation thing. So even if like, let's say you're a Seth Rollins who's been in WWE for 10, 15 years, you have a non-compete clause in your contract, you get fired today. tomorrow you can go work for TNA Impact if you want. If you're, I don't know, you're Billy Gunn and
Also,
Tony
what we pitched for Cameron Grimes could literally happen.
could literally happen. Cameron Grimes could literally go right now to Impact, sign a contract, and go to work. Billy Gunn, he gets fired from AEW. God forbid, you know, he's doing good, but God forbid he gets fired. He could come back to WWE, go and do whatever he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy time for not just WWE, but the entire stratosphere of wrestling. Because now we can really say, you never know who you're gonna see. And
Yeah,
where
you
you're
really
gonna see
never
them.
know now. You really never know.
Yeah.
If somebody's stuff is done tomorrow, that could be it. They could have play. They could get a call that night.
Yeah, like, you know, Seth frickin' Rollins can stop being the Monday Night Messiah one day, and then he can go back to being Tyler Black the next day.
That is pretty insane. That is pretty insane, man. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Wow. I didn't know that was a whole legislation that changes.
Yeah. I will send you the article, but that is a legislation that has been signed into effect.
That absolutely changes the game for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna make things interesting. Well, well, hopefully not for WWE. Well, hopefully for WWE, but in a beneficial way. We don't want to lose anybody else.
Honestly, you know
I mean?
what?
Like all the people we got rid of, for the most part, I'm cool with, and it makes perfect sense. Like they didn't let go of anybody that's like, oh, why such and such? Like they clearly were doing nothing and didn't want to hold them up.
Yeah, it was nobody to the point of, all right, we got to do an emergency pod and crank this out. It was like, all right, everybody that it happened to, we understand. And for the most part, Cameron Grimes aside, everybody got cut. But, you know, it is what it is. It works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be very interested to see who's not happy where they're at now. I'm gonna be very open to seeing who's not happy where they are, because the minute that I feel like they know where they want to be and they're not happy where they're at, yeah. I'm gonna keep a major eye on that guy. Yeah. Things could change at the drop of a dime nowadays. That's gonna be cool. All right, but I mean, I think that's all we got to talk about, and we're hitting an hour. We've probably talked too much. So, Duke, take us home, man.
Well, if you're tired of hearing our voices, I'm going to wrap it up for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode. Make sure you link up to all of our platforms that you see down here below, right here in front of me and in front of Stevie. And thank you for tuning into this episode. Make sure you guys stay up. Make sure you guys stay blessed. And as always, stay dangerous.
People have been asking me to be the best in the world. Why?